The control tower at Denver International Airport buzzed with activity as air traffic controllers coordinated the movements of incoming and outgoing flights. Among them was veteran controller Mike Hansen, who had spent 2 decades guiding planes through storms, emergencies, and the occasional mechanical failure. But nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to witness. It started as a routine evening shift. The sky was clear and traffic was steady. Mike was monitoring the radar when an incoming flight, Delta 417, requested an emergency landing. The request itself wasn't unusual. Planes sometimes experienced technical issues. But what followed sent a chill down his spine. As the Boeing 737 approached, Mike glanced at his screen. The flight path was erratic, with sudden dips and altitude shifts. He grabbed his radio. Delta 417, this is Denver Tower. You are clear for runway 27 left. What is the nature of your emergency? Silence. Mike tried again. Delta 417, respond. Finally, a static-filled voice crackled through. Tower, we need immediate assistance. Unresponsive personnel. Something's wrong. We need... The message cut out. Mike's gut tightened. Delta 417, can you confirm the nature of the emergency? No response. He turned to his colleague Sarah, who was monitoring the same flight. Her eyes were wide. Mike, look at the cockpit camera feed. Mike tapped into the airport's emergency system and pulled up the footage. The feed showed the pilot, his face pale and drenched in sweat, making a strange hand signal toward the external cockpit camera, crossing his arms in an X before pointing downward repeatedly. Mike's blood ran cold. That was the universal distress signal for a hijacking. He acted fast. We have a possible hijacking on Delta 417. Alert Homeland Security, scramble emergency teams, and dispatch police to the runway. A flurry of activity erupted in the control tower. Sirens blared across the airport. SWAT teams mobilized. The FBI was notified. As the plane descended, Mike kept his eyes locked on the screen. The flight was unstable, banking slightly to the left. If the pilot was incapacitated or being forced to fly at gunpoint, landing could be catastrophic. Delta 417, this is Denver Tower. Do you have control of the aircraft? Squawk 7500 if this is a hijacking. A second later, the plane's transponder sent out the dreaded code. 7500, the universal signal for an aircraft being hijacked. Mike's breath hitched. Confirmed hijacking. Repeat, confirmed hijacking. On the ground, emergency vehicles lined the runway. Armed security personnel took positions as the plane touched down, its wheels screeching against the tarmac. The aircraft veered slightly, but managed to slow to a halt near the taxiway. Silence. Then, the aircraft's main door burst open. A frantic flight attendant stumbled out, waving desperately. "Help us! They're still on board!" Before she could say another word, a gunshot echoed from inside the plane. "Go! Go! Go!" shouted the SWAT team commander as tactical units stormed the aircraft. Mike watched from the tower, his hands gripping the console. The radio crackled as updates came through. 3 hostiles confirmed. 2 in the cockpit, 1 in the rear cabin. They're armed. Shots rang out. Then, silence. After what felt like an eternity, a voice finally came through. Aircraft secured, hostiles down, crew and passengers safe. Mike exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Within minutes, passengers were escorted off the plane, shaken but alive. Medics rushed in to tend to the injured. FBI agents swarmed the scene, securing evidence and questioning the survivors. Later, as the details unraveled, the truth was even more terrifying than Mike had imagined. The hijackers had posed as maintenance crew in an attempt to take control of the aircraft mid-flight. Their plan was to divert the plane toward an undisclosed location. But the quick-thinking pilot had outsmarted them, sending the silent distress signals that ultimately saved everyone on board. As the adrenaline wore off, Mike sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. It had been a close call, too close. That night, as he left the tower and stepped into the crisp Denver air, he knew one thing for sure. This was a shift he would never forget. If you found this story touching and inspiring, please like the video, share it with others, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for following along, and we'll see you next time for more uplifting tales.